Hi guys, I'm getting ready to make meatloaf for dinner, and these are the ingredients you will need: 2 eggs, some gravy, garlic and onion powder, tomato sauce, black olives, some breadcrumbs, mushrooms, salt and pepper to taste, some ground beef, and 2 eggs. First thing I'm going to do is chop up the black olives, just a rough chop. This is something my father put in our meatloaf when I was growing up, so I kind of like them in there. But you do not have to add them. You can omit them if your preference is not to have them. So I'm just gonna quickly give them a rough chop so that way I can mix them into the meatloaf. And you can see already I had in the background already opened up my can of tomato sauce, and I have my bowl ready so I can get everything put in the bowl and start mixing it soon. Making a big mess with cutting the olives up. So now I've just put the meat into a bowl. I'm going to add in the gravy. I've actually just followed directions of the package of gravy. You can use canned gravy, jar gravy, whatever you want. This is what I had at hand. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to add that in. And then I'm just going to add in the remaining ingredients. The mushrooms, and I did drain the mushrooms. I'll add in the tomato sauce along with the seasonings. There goes the black olives. And this is the fun part. You need to make sure your hands are clean because we are going to get our hands in there and mix it with our hands. So you do need to make sure your hands are clean. So I'm going to add in my spices, as I was saying. About a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half, but it's up to your preference. My family likes the garlic, so I tend to put a little bit extra in. And then the onion. And you see I ran out of it, so I had to open up a new one. Which I didn't realize I was out of that other container, otherwise I would have had this opened already. But real life cooking going on. So I'm going to add in the remainder that I thought I needed for it. Again, like about a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. And I will have the full recipe down in the description box, and as well as on my website, ruthiecancook.com. I'm adding in the breadcrumbs, and you don't want your meatloaf too moist, so I use about 2 cups of breadcrumbs. And you'll see I'm adjusting because once I start mixing it, I do feel that the meat is too moist, so I'm going to add in more breadcrumbs. So it equaled out to about 2 cups of breadcrumbs. But you do not want your meat to be moist, otherwise it's just going to fall apart. It will taste good still, but it won't stay into its form. Salt and pepper to taste, as I stated before. This grinder pulls out a lot, or puts out a lot of salt, so I have to be careful with it. But then the pepper. Just make sure you season it to the way you would want it for your family. And now I'm adding in the tomato sauce. And just going to get my hands in there and mix it well. This is the fun part. When you're doing the mixing, if you have Julie around, I would advise taking it off. Not a real big fan of mixing the meat with my hand. I used to like doing it. I don't like doing it anymore. You could use a glove, definitely. I have gloves and I forgot to go get one. So you see I'm adding in more breadcrumbs because the meat was a little bit too moist, and I didn't want it to hold its form when I put it, when it was finished cooking. So you'll see. And then the next step will be to put in a pan. And there's 2 ingredients that I did not show here, which you'll see my daughter handing me a new thing of breadcrumbs in case I needed it, which I did need it. And the 2 ingredients that after off camera, I forgot to add in my Worcestershire sauce and A1 sauce. And again, I will leave the full recipe down below. So here I just got a regular 9 by 11 pan, I think it is. I'm just going to put it in the pan, forming as best that I can into a loaf form. You don't have to do this. You know, it's just, this is what I do. I like doing it. Comes out pretty when you form it into the loaf. And this is what I was taught growing up from my father. So I try to keep some of the traditions that he taught me alive. So very good looking meatloaf there. Now that my hands are all messy, I can't turn off the camera, so I gotta get somebody to put the camera on pause so I can go wash my hands. Okay, now that I have my hands clean, I'm gonna put tinfoil over this, and I'm gonna put this in a preheated oven already. And again, all the directions and everything will be down in the description box below, so that way you can too make this meatloaf if you choose to. And I hope you do, because this is a fabulous meatloaf. So it's ready to go into the oven. I don't put no liquid in the bottom of this, because this is like a 90-10. The meat will produce its own juices from the fat. So, and this is the finished product. Sorry for the shaking of the camera. This is the finished product. It looks gorgeous. It was an amazing meal. And I'm so glad that you stopped by and checked out my video. And I will talk to you in the next one.